T to B.
T to B, top to bottom. But it is. It's fucking awesome.
You made that into my vernacular, by the way. I don't remember. I wasn't even talking about music. I was like, we got to clean this house. T to B.
This is the Epic New Podcast, Two Idiots and a List, where you're going to get two idiots and a list. And now, coming to you live from Circle Avenue Studios, your hosts, Nick Fasolo and Keurig McMillan.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Two Idiots and a List. You're going to get two idiots for sure, and a list. It's up to you what you want to do with it. I'm here today with the man who put Maneater in his top 5 and had the audacity to talk down to me and the rest of mine, Mr. Nicholas Fasolo.
So let me clear something up here. I wasn't talking down to you. I respect your musical talent, your musical talent and your tastes. Daryl Hall heats me up. He just got me revved up, and every time I heard a song, or even just, it was like Wild Hyacinth and the Three Stooges. Every time somebody would mention something, it was a visceral response.
I feel like Greg Marmalard after Mandy Pepperidge got out of the car. All right, we are here today to talk to you about one of my favorite bands in college, The Doors.
Are you a lucky little lady in the city of light? Or did you know the lost angel? City of night, city of night, city of night, city of night. Woo! Oh!
Your favorite too? I didn't realize that was your favorite band, or one of your favorite.
I got into a heavy mode of sort of jammy music and stuff like the Allman Brothers, the Grateful Dead, Little Feat. Stuff that was kind of groovy, very 70s, late 60s. And I don't really remember how or why, how that happened. And you also got into this band, and we didn't go to school together.
This is the podcast I've waited my whole life to make. I fucking loved The Doors.
Yeah.
Love them. And again, I fucking hate jam bands. I don't dig the Dead or Fish or any. I just don't like it. This is, to me, it wasn't really I never really saw the Doors as a jam band, but they do have some jammy songs there that run 10, 11 minutes, and we're going to get into that a little later. But I fucking loved them.
Yeah.
Like, just like you, where did it come from? Like, I had listened to the Eagles and the Rolling Stones, and I was well aware of the Beatles and everything, and I was just kind of aware that the Doors existed as, kind of in the formative years through the 80s. But when college hit, all of a sudden, this fucking Greek god just comes out of nowhere, and I'm telling you, I really think that it's Oliver Stone's movie.
So I thought about that too. I don't have any recollection of seeing the film. I remember the movie, but I don't remember seeing the film, and then suddenly a light switch went on and I realized I'd been breathing partial oxygen for the last 20 years because
Right.
I didn't know about Jim Morrison and the Doors. I think it came into the culture, and I agree that it probably did come as a result of that film. It didn't happen for me from seeing that film and going, suddenly I love this band. And maybe somebody else saw it and it kicked with them and they started playing it and then I heard it. I don't know.
The Doors movie comes out in 91, and I want to say it came out in Thanksgiving of 91, because I distinctly remember going out the night of Thanksgiving to go see it in the middle of this horrible snowstorm. But I remember oh fuck yeah, we're going to see the Doors. So I was well into the Doors at that time, but I was not in high school at all.
No.
It was a college thing, and I can't really tell you where it came from. We both have a mutual friend that was super into the Doors,
Yep.
and that to me was yeah, I'm going with you on this. What is Crystal Ship? Give me more of that.
Right.
Inject it into my veins. And it was everything. And then I picked up the book, the Sugarman's book,
Yep.
No One Here Gets Out Alive, and just that was it. It was a mythical figure who we got to kind of rediscover through the college days and the college experimentations that we were doing as well.
Well, and back to the comment around jam bands. I never thought of these guys as a jam band either. And it really wasn't until I was listening over the last week that it struck me that these guys are kind of a jam band. Maybe not so much in the fact that they've got these big, long, extended songs, but more so that they fit within that same genre of sort of freewheeling. You could argue that the way they play their music is sort of off the cuff. And it certainly would fit in that sort of a scenario to see them with other bands of that ilk.
They had to be, because Jim Morrison was such an unpredictable person.
Yes.
And on stage and in the studio, he was unpredictable. And the way they would record things live. And so the drummer, Densmore, had to be very attuned to how fucked up Morrison is and where is he going with this.
Yeah.
And so he just keeps that kind of like ride cymbal and get like kind of ticking away and like, okay. And I think that they made it work.
They did.
It works really well.
They did.
But yeah, he was an unpredictable cat.
One of the things about that movie that kind of interested me was, and when you look into the history on Morrison and what he did, unpredictable is a great descriptor. I think it would have been maddening to try to accomplish anything with this man because of the crazy interaction with drugs and alcohol. And what may have been a slightly unhinged character to begin with. But the rest of the band, when that movie came out, they said, this movie unfairly depicts Jim Morrison. Like, they came to his defense, which I found interesting. I didn't think that was something that you'd hear. The Doors only released 5 albums with Morrison before he passed on. Mm-hmm. They were, after that 5th album, they said it's time to maybe part ways with Jim. Right. And then they came back and said, you know what, we kind of want to do a 6th. Unfortunately, it was too late.
But then they went on and they tried to get another couple of different singers. They would go on tour like in the late 70s, and it just did not work out because pound for pound, Jim Morrison carried his band more than any other band I can think of.
Yeah.
Paul had John. And, Mick had Keith, and just go down the line. And Dave had Alex, yeah. Dave had Eddie, but Jim Morrison had nobody. John Densmore, okay drummer,
right?
Session guy.
Yeah.
Rob Krieger, okay.
Yeah. Nobody was outstanding musically in that band. Manzarek really didn't.
Ray Manzarek drives me wild because he's very much in the Darrell Hall of Fame there. He drives me wild because he played carnival music.
Yeah.
Like all of those keys underneath and the bullshit secondhand bass. Like, here's how bullshit it was. They had to bring in session bassists to get the sound that they get on the album. But when he would go on tour, he was like, no, man, I got the bass line. Right. And he'd had that, what do they call it? The semiphone on top of his regular keyboard.
And that was his bass guitar, yeah.
That was his bass guitar, and he had pedals. And he was the guy that after Jim Morrison died would carry the torch the most for him.
Right.
And he would always pair himself with Jim Morrison as like, oh, me and Jim did this. No. Get it straight, Ray. Jim Morrison carried the whole fucking load for you guys, and he was an unpredictable asshole. I couldn't spend 5 minutes with this guy.
With Morrison?
No.
He'd drive you insane.
I don't need to be challenged with death at every single meeting that I have with him.
He was a toddler with a substance abuse problem.
He was a craven alcoholic, someone who has just substance abuse problems all throughout, and enablers everywhere. The entire clan around the Doors just enabled Jim because he was an artist.
Right.
And that's kind of like where I as looking back at my infatuation with the Doors back in the 90s, I could not have been more clear about, like, I loved Jim Morrison. I loved everything about him.
Right.
His unpredictability, I almost tried to emulate at certain points in my life, which was not a thing.
I think I remember those days.
Yeah. And, the jumping off of roofs and everything in the swimming pools, like those types of things are just like, and I'm looking back on it now and I'm like, that was crazy. But, like, where did that come from? I bought into the myth of Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
And I bought all the way in. And when you look back at it now, it's like he was just a character.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, if you
a tragic one.
Yeah, but it was a tragic one. But if you bought into the character, you're like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, it was like watching a movie almost, kind of like it play out in through the music and through his myth that was built around him. And if you bought into that for real, like, you were headed for some pretty rough times yourself.
Yeah.
But if you bought into it as like, that's a character that he's funny to watch, kind of like, a Kramer type of character, like that, I don't know, there's a difference there.
Yeah.
And I bought into the myth
Yeah.
in the 90s.
I think we all did.
Yeah.
There was something sexy about him in a way that really shouldn't have been sexy.
Yeah.
I found an odd fact for this. His father was a rear admiral in the Navy. Was running the show during the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which essentially pulled the U.S. a little more deeply into the Vietnam War. And you're the history teacher. You probably can enlighten more on the facts there.
Well, we won't get into the facts, quote unquote, of the Gulf of Tonkin. But yeah, go ahead. He was also there for Pearl Harbor.
So when you think about a guy who's that unhinged and that freewheeling, and he has what has to be a straight-laced, tough-as-nails kind of guy, you don't get to that kind of rank in the military without being a real hard screw. And maybe that's why Morrison kind of, ended up the way he did. I don't know.
Morrison leaves his family in Florida, where I assume his father is stationed or retired or whatever, to California. Cuts off all communications with his mother, his father, and his brother,
and a sister.
Yeah. So I didn't even know, like, in the myth of Jim Morrison, you do not know about his family because he cut them off completely. As a matter of fact, his brother was listening to like Break On Through for months because it was a pretty big single for them. And somebody told him, was like, hey man, have you seen the cover of this band that you're listening to? And he's like, that looks like my brother. He had no fucking idea it was Jim Morrison. Like, that's super.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like you cut off your family that deep. And they tried to like reconcile or get back in touch. Jim wanted nothing to do with them at all. And so whatever trauma he's walking around with, I don't understand it. I don't get it. He never really talked about it in public because you couldn't get a straight word out of him because he was always fucked up.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that they didn't perform an autopsy on him. That just seems, I don't know, suspect, questionable.
Well, really, I don't know. I'll just go back to Dennis Leary's, great line about him. He's like, "Here's Jim Morrison. I'm drunk. I'm nobody. I'm drunk. I'm famous. I'm drunk. I'm fucking dead. Big fat dead guy in a bathtub." And that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah. Speaking of his death, this guy is buried in Paris in a cemetery called Père Lachaise. And if you ever happen to find yourself in Paris, check out Père Lachaise Cemetery. It's totally worth it. I've been there twice. It's easy to get to. It's hilly with mature trees. Monuments are giant. It's full of like a ton of famous people, politicians, writers. Oscar Wilde's in there, Chopin. If you're into the lost art of miming, Marcel Marceau is in there. So Morrison's in there too. And when I was there the first time, which was about 30 years ago, there was no barrier around his tomb, and the headstone is just covered in wax from people leaving candles on it and stuff. Now it's got a barrier to keep people from leaving stuff there. But it's great. There's always kids smoking grass around the tomb. We were there the last time with my family, and they were like, dude, there's kids here, and fired off the joint like a rocket. So hey, there's your travel recommendation if you're looking for one. All right, well, perhaps we should begin the journey here down the list. Would you like to begin?
Yeah, I just want to make one other point. It's like we're trying to define them as like a jam band and everything like that. It's like, well, they've also been kind of like anointed as the kings of acid rock. But like it's trippy rock, but like, when you go through their career, they start their career in 1967. Well, by that time, Rubber Soul had been out since 1965. Pet Sounds is 1966. The Airplane is already making their music. So I don't know. I'm not really convinced that they're the kings of acid rock. However, they are more relatable than any of those other things. Even like I'm the Walrus and shit. Like, yeah, it's cool. It's the Beatles. I get it. We're all infatuated with where do you come up with, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. It's great and everything like that. Jefferson Airplane has, the White Rabbit, and that's a trippy song, but it's not relatable.
Right.
Jim Morrison brought a poetry to that type of music that was all pretty much relatable. Like you hear his music, you hear his lyrics, and you're like, Yeah, I can see, like, even in the end, like when he's talking about, this edible complex that he may not have with his mother, like everybody, like those are classic, themes. And he brought that poetry kind of to the front of the music, because what's happening behind him is, session music, just kind of going along with his poetry. And that's kind of where I come off on it. It's like, it's not necessarily acid rock, but it's different because he's relatable, because he was really a talented wordsmith.
Yeah, his poetry is both deep and yet accessible, which I think is, part of the reason for their success.
And they cut through, 5 years? It was only 5 years, 67 to 71, they were done.
Yeah.
And here we are still talking. So that's the funny thing about it, is that in the 90s, they come back and we are looking backwards at so it's 20 years from that point, 91. And we were looking back at music and this guy, this myth figure of, 20 years ago. That's the same as somebody now, kids today, looking back at the early 2000s. Like, who do they have? Like, Limp Bizkit? I mean, where is their mythological figures? Right?
Linkin Park.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they have that dude, but I mean, he also had a tragic end too. But anyhow, let's move on. I don't think that Limp Bizkit needs any more.
Far too much to airtime already.
Right.
All right, what you got for our honorable mention?
I like this honorable mention because this is like the first Doors tune that I was ever really kind of aware of that was actually a Doors tune. And the only reason why I knew it was because I watched a lot of TV, tons, on cable. And one of the movies that was always on was Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi's movie Neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
You ever see it?
I think maybe once. I couldn't tell you what it's about. I don't recall.
It's just a weird fucking movie. And for a 12-year-old to be watching it over and over and over, it's just strange. It's strange. But one of the title, Dan Aykroyd's characters is this sleazy guy. He was dancing to Hello, I Love You.
Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello, I love you, let me jump in your game. Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello, I love you, let me jump in your game. She's walking down.
And he did this really funky dance to it, and I was like, man, I really like that song. And then later on, I find out it's the Doors.
Now, Hello, I Love You is good. There was a note I saw that said the Kinks threatened to sue the Doors for copyright infringement because Hello, I Love You uses an identical chord sequence as their song All Day and All of the Night.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Which was released 4 years before Hello, I Love You. Mm-hmm. And Ray Davies actually put the kibosh on it, which I thought was kind of interesting.
That's a stand-up bloke.
Yeah, right? We don't need to sue these guys. It's really not that close. Actually, it's fairly close.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
I'm not content to be with you in the daytime. Girl, I want to be with you all of the time.
All right, so for my honorable mention, I have Love Me Two Times.
Love me two times, girl. Lost me all through the week. Love me two times, I'm gone away. Love me two times, I'm gone away. Oh, yeah!
All right, this made my list, but not
the top five. Love Me Two Times. I really like the guitars in this. I like the sort of crunchy start. I like the just the way it plays out. It's a short song. It's a little over 3 minutes. Manzarek's actually playing a harpsichord in this, not his Moog, not his Moog keyboard or Hammond organ. I don't think he played a Hammond organ, but it was controversial. It was banned in certain areas of the country. Notably Connecticut, and we'll talk about Connecticut again in a second here. Morrison had some interesting history in Connecticut, but Manzarek said of Love Me Two Times, this is Robbie Krieger's great blues classic about lust and loss, or multiple orgasms. I'm not sure which. I guess it's up to you to decide.
Ray is such a cut-up. Yeah, Krieger wrote a lot of their stuff.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot more than I thought he did.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where else the music would have come from. Like, Morrison was not a musician. And Densmore was like, he was a timekeeper. He was a good timekeeper. So I think Krieger is like the larger part of where the music comes from. And interesting about the Love Me Two Times, while we were going through college and everything like this, and through my Morrison phase, and it wasn't really a phase, it was more like a year and a half. There's a person in my life, these people just kind of come in and out of your life, especially during colleges. You're based on different relationships with people that you know. And there's a really, really sweet kid that was a fantastic musician. Just could pick up a guitar, listen to something, and just start playing it. And he was really, I remember we were hanging out one night and with a handful of people, and he's like, because I always had a Doors shirt on, always.
I remember that. You did have a lot of Doors shirts.
Always. And he's like, "You like the Doors, man?" I'm like, "Oh, you're speaking my language, my friend." He pulls out his guitar. And this is not the first time I met him. I knew he was like, a musical guy. And he started playing Love Me Two Times. And I, of course, started singing along because Morrison was not a great singer. He was a crooner. No.
Yeah.
Like, when you listen to him, he was a crooner. He wasn't a great, vocalist. But so as a crooner, like, those are pretty easy lyrics to sing in the register that I could sing in. And I belted it out. And he's like, hold on a second. And he gets out his mic stand. And we had like a 6-song concert where he would just keep continuing. He's like, "What other song do you know by that?" I'm like, "Name it, dude, because I know them all." And he's like, "Well, let's do Light My Fire." And
oh my God. Why weren't cell phones around in those days to get a recording of that?
I wouldn't have a job. I wouldn't have a job. That was so. And I just that alone was like, I was like, "Oh, this is my dream. Like, maybe we can be the Doors touring band." and then I think we passed out on the carpet.
All right, what you got for number 5?
All right, so my number 5 is another one of those. Well, they're all singable songs, but the Crystal Ship.
Before you slip into unconsciousness, I'd like to have another kiss, another flashing chance at bliss, another kiss, another kiss.
I love this tune.
Yeah.
It's so eerie and spooky. And, he's talking about, we're always trying to figure out, like, what the lyrics were actually, like, meaning. And so what is the Crystal Ship? Is everybody's, is that the Stairway to Heaven type deal? Is that, like, is this something that we're going to do moving on, into the next, life or something like that? But it's really cool. And it's one of my favorites. I know I shit on Ray, but the key chord progression that he does in the middle of the song is kind of the build up to the last verse that's really the coolest stuff.
Oh, tell me where.
Yeah.
It's cool. And it's only 2.5 minutes long.
A lot of their songs were really short.
In and out.
Yeah, they didn't screw around. They just kind of banged in, banged out, did their stuff, and went on. Which I had one of their live albums, and I've listened to a lot of their live stuff. It would be interesting to like truly experience them live, because it's hard to take it in from the live album alone, right? There's got to be some theater here with Morrison that doesn't translate on the album itself. But I got to believe that they took a lot of these songs that were 2.5 or 3 minutes long and turned them into 10-minute epics with probably him babbling on. I don't know, but
there's a lot of that going on in his live shows. A lot of corralling him from backstage to get him away from whatever woman he's trying to assault at that moment. Yeah.
Yep. All right, my number 5 is Peace Frog.
Love Peace Frog. My number 2.
Ah, very good.
Go for it.
All right. love the funky guitar in this. It just, it opens up with that funky guitar. The rhythm just kind of makes you move. The lyrics are cool. He talks about blood in the streets in the town of New Haven. That's a reference to one of the things that really jacked up Connecticut on the Doors and Morrison. They had a show in New Haven, Connecticut, and Morrison was making out with a girl in a bathroom at the gig when a cop came in and told them to leave. Morrison told the cop to eat it, and the cop pulled a can of mace on him. And the cop said to him, "Last chance," and Morrison said, "Last chance to eat it." And the cop maced him. So the concert was delayed for like an hour while he recovered. And then he went on stage and made up a song about little men in blue, and they ended up pulling him off and arresting him. Mm-hmm. It's a great song. There's a walk up in the middle that's great, and then it goes into this really plucky little guitar solo before dropping down into some Morrison poetry. And I really like this song. I think it's a great tune.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's my number 2. It's a little different than some of their other stuff, but not too far off the beaten path from their mainstream stuff. And Peace Bark was one of those songs that I came through much later after getting through their first couple of albums. And I always loved the first line. There's blood in the street. It's up to my ankles. I'm like, tell me more, Jim.
Yeah,
tell me more about that.
Speak to me, baby.
Well, that's the thing about Morrison, right? He's the essence of rock and roll. What is rock and roll? What is the essence of it? It's danger, right? That's why we like it, right? Because all these things are like, it's the electric guitars are dangerous sounding. The big booming crashing cymbals and the drums are dangerous sounding. And the front man, if he's dangerous, like even go back to like Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis, those guys are fucking dangerous in the late 50s.
Yeah.
They scared the shit out of mothers and fathers, and like that's why they were great, right? And Morrison was all into it. He was a dangerous, unpredictable animal on stage, in the studio, in his own life.
So it made him attractive to us.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's why he was so unpredictable. And in your 20s, I guess you're after that, right?
Yeah, you're bulletproof when you're 20.
And that's the other thing. You're bulletproof. You're completely invincible. And, as Morrison was was mythologized to be.
Right.
He wasn't,
right.
He would
obviously
croak at 27.
Yeah.
But, it's just it was the perfect, 20s fuck you, right? And you never get that fuck you back, by the way. For those of you who are in your 20s, live it up.
That's
because
right.
in your 30s, you chase it a little bit. In your 40s, you just kind of succumb to you'll never get that fuck you attitude back.
Nope.
Which is fine. I think that's the general progression.
And when you do run into someone in their, late 40s, 50s that still has it, you're like, oh boy. Let's avoid this guy. Mm-hmm. All right, what do you have for number 3? Are we on number 3?
No, we're on
number 4. What do you have for number 4?
Roadhouse Blues.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just the mood.
Oh yeah, this is my number 3.
Yeah, the way the song starts out, when he's drunk behind the wheel of a car, and all he's talking about is going to find more drinks. That pretty much sums up my early 20s.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Where are the drinks? We're already drunk. Where are there fucking more drinks?
The endless quest.
Yes.
I love the grungy guitar in this. great repeating kind of blues riff that just crunches. And one of my favorite aspects of this song is the harmonica. They don't overdo it. It's this great sort of accent in concert with the guitar, doing what they're doing.
Yeah, it's perfectly placed.
And then you've got that kind of walking bass line in the choruses that really kind of brings it up. And then they cut back in, and you got Jim yelling, do it, Robbie, do it.
Yeah, that's the best.
It's fantastic.
His voice on this track, I don't know if it sounded better on any other track.
I think you're right.
He swallowed like a can full of gravel and just like belted this thing out. It's fantastic.
10 packs of cigarettes and a gallon of whiskey. Let's go into the recording studio.
Love that, yeah. Do it, Robbie.
Right? I would have loved to have seen this song live. I mean, imagine belting out, woke up this morning and got myself a beer at the top of your lungs with Jim on stage.
That was like our Pledge of Allegiance. You got myself a beer.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking
That's
about,
right.
Jim. I'm there.
Alice Cooper claims he was the inspiration for that lyric.
I know.
I would like to believe otherwise. That feels a little far-fetched to me.
Stay on the golf course, Al.
Right. All right, my number 4 is Soul Kitchen.
Yes.
The cars crawl past, all stuffed with eyes. Street lights share their hollow glow. Your brain seems bruised with numb surprise. Still one place to go. Still one place to go. Let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen. Warm my mind with your gentle snow. Turn me out in a wonder, baby. Stumbling in the neon glow.
Another great one. Like the lyric, "Let me sleep all night inside your soul kitchen."
It's fantastic.
I'm here for all of it.
It's fantastic. He wrote that in tribute to a soul food restaurant in Venice Beach. He would stay there too late, and they'd kick him out, hence the line, "Let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen."
That kind of brings a different meaning to it.
There's a great early 60s feel to this song. Between the vocals and the keyboards, it sounds like you could be listening to the Hollies. Then they kick into this sort of slightly heavier chorus. I love the groove of this song. There's just everything about it works for me. It's just a feel-good kind of tune. One critic called it the Doors version of Gloria by Van Morrison. That's a pretty apt comparison. I don't put Van Morrison and the Doors necessarily in the same boat, but it has that sort of feel to it, a little bit of a anthemic kind of feel. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's great, and you're right. It's a early rock and roll kind of groove to it, early rock and roll kind of sound to it, and again, his vocals just nailed it. I really like that song.
Yeah. All right, what you got for number 3?
My number 3 is 5 to 1.
One more. 5 to 1, baby. 1 in 5. No one here gets out alive now. You get yours, baby. I'll get mine. Gonna make it, baby, if we try.
And you want to talk about dangerous songs, like, this is a protest song, straight away, and he comes out with it too, it's like, 5 to 1, 1 in 5, no one here gets out alive. Like, that is an awesome yearbook quote.
Yes.
Like, if you see that in the yearbook and the kid's picture and that's
right.
the quote, and you're like, okay, let's party.
Yeah. Or let's let the FBI know who this
Yeah,
is.
that's right. Yeah. It's a great yearbook quote. They've got the guns, but we've got the numbers. Like, he's calling for open revolution is what he's calling it for against the government. And just the plotting bass groove, and it's not a lot of music going on behind it. It's more important of what Jim is saying.
Yeah.
And I think he was really feeling himself on this track. Like, he has already got himself, a notoriety and a popularity for being an outspoken frontman of a band, and this is off of their third album, and he wants to say something here.
Right.
And
right.
I really, I think I was always enraptured by the songs because it's a fucking, it's a violent song.
Yeah, it's a deep tune. I also think it has probably one of the best guitar solos out of their catalog.
Mm-hmm.
I really like his guitar solo in this.
Yeah, it serves the song well. It's enough to let everybody know that the musicians are here. I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to get out of the way and Jim take over.
Yeah, right. All right, you sniped my number 3. I had Roadhouse Blues.
Oh, okay.
So that brings us to the question of, what's your dream concert with these guys? Who are you going to see with the Doors?
Well, I'm going to bring in the Rolling Stones from Altamont, along with their attaché of Hell's Angels.
To beat the shit out of you when you...
Run security, Carrot, run security. Listen, you want to beat the best, you got to be the best.
That's right. Are they all going to be carrying broken pool cues? Is that what they're...
There'll be no stabbings. There'll be no murders in the front row. But I'm going to bring on the Altamont Rolling Stones. I'm going to have my own little Summer of Love concert. So the Rolling Stones are going to do their jam. Then I'm going to bring out the Jefferson Airplane. Put a head on.
I like that.
Get a little trippy.
Oh, yeah.
Just get about 5 songs out of them, and they got to go.
Hit me with a little White Rabbit.
Yeah.
And don't you dare fucking play We Built This City. Don't you dare. Get off of my stage now.
I love that song.
No. No.
Now you're getting a little of the Daryl Hall treatment.
That's right.
Thought you were immune.
Touche, pussycat.
Bring on the Airplane and give me a good half hour of White Rabbit because I want to peak.
Oh,
right?
yeah, right.
I want to peak. Right when the Doors, scrim drops, I want the big curtain that hides the Doors set. I want that to be the album cover of Break On Through with Jim reaching out so I can peek to that. And then the curtain's going to drop, and it's 50-50 if Jim's on the stage or not.
Oh.
Because
I think you're giving that far too high a chance.
he's going to be so rocked out by the Stones, and he's so that's why I'm putting the Doors at the end, not because the head of the bill, but because you never know, he could fucking ruin it.
And you want him nice and tweaked up by the time he gets in there too.
And you might he was Axl Rose before there were Axl Rose. Like he was such
Right.
a prima donna, and he's shit faced, and he can't take the mic. Although some of the worst performances are when he was shit faced and you couldn't get the mic out of his fucking hands.
Right.
So that's my lineup.
All right. I had Janis Joplin on the ticket here.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
thought, hearing her belt out with that sandpaper voice,
Yep.
some of her big stuff, I think that'd be a lot of fun to see live. I also, and I'm not a giant fan of this band, but I do respect some of the stuff they did and some of their protest music. I had Creedence Clearwater on the bill.
Yeah.
There's something about what's his face, John
Fogerty?
Fogerty. Something about his voice that sometimes really works for me and sometimes really doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that
Simple
is.
songs though, man.
Yeah.
Just simple 3 chords, and man, they did so much with that. Just 3
Oh,
chords.
yeah,
That's it.
right. And if you want to hear a tragic story, go look into what he did in selling the rights to his music. It's pretty awful. And then
musicians just get fucked.
oh, they get fucked.
God,
just sideways with a 2x4. Joplin and CCR, they can come on for half hour, 45 minutes, and then give me a good 2 hour, 3 hour set of the Doors.
At his best, doing the Doors' greatest hits.
Yeah, right.
If you can give it, just give me that, Jim.
Which was another fantastic compilation of greatest hits. And
That and Journey. Everybody that I knew in college had those 2 greatest hits albums.
Yeah.
I can't really think of any other greatest hits albums
Yeah.
that made the rounds, but those 2,
Although
the double
for-
albums.
comparing like the 2 greatest hits, Journey's greatest hits encompassed like 99% of all the good music they did, whereas the Doors the Doors greatest hits that you can listen to that first album, and we've bandied about the term perfect album, with a few other bands. Mm-hmm. I think you could throw 1 or 2, maybe even more of the Doors albums into that same conversation. Their first album's fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's fantastic.
T to B.
Yep.
That's my term.
T to B.
T to B, top to bottom. But it is. It's fucking awesome.
You made that into my vernacular, by the way. I don't remember. I wasn't even talking about music. I was like, we got to clean this house. T to B.
We're going to roast all the cauliflower. T to B. Stem to stern.
Oh, shit.
That First Doors album is fantastic all the way. And I was going to save this because it didn't, like, I'll save it. I'll save it for the end.
All right. That brings us to our number 2s. What you got?
No, well, my number 2 was Peace Frog.
Number 2 was Peace Frog.
Yeah.
All right. I had a hard time with this one because I wrestled with whether this was number 2 or it was number 1. And I'm not going to change it, but you could easily flip-flop this with number 1. My number 2 is The End.
This is the end, my only friend, the end of our elaborate plans, the end of everything that stands, the end, no safety or surprise, the end, I'll never look into your eyes again.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm glad I didn't bring it up, but go ahead.
I love this song. And this song kind of summarized the time in my life when I was listening to this band. And you talk about peaking.
I'm here for all of this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was, I had a buddy in school that we had a ritual that included White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane, and it included The End. And this is a long, rambling song, and we actually listened to a live version of it off of a double disc that I had that I can't find anymore. And when they peak...
Orgasmic.
Peak. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're going to reference a song with a climax, this is it. I mean, this song reaches a climax. And you referenced earlier the Oedipal sort of complex that Morrison likes to dabble in. He does with this as well. And there's just volumes of explanations on what this song is really about. And some of them are kind of interesting. And I thought about trying to bring them up here, but it would go on to like a long rambling thing.
It's an incredible song.
An incredible song.
Incredible song. And I didn't put it on my number 1 because I'm going to break the rules here, and I put it in like the pantheon.
Ooh.
Like this is a different type of song for me.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
I have a different number 1, but I had the same problem that you had. Like I couldn't. How do you decide? This song is so. We had the same experience. The funny thing is that you had this ritual with the White Rabbit and The End. We had the same ritual at Northern, except for White Rabbit, we had Dr. Hook's cover of Rolling Stone.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Fucking great tune, right? And you play them back to back, and it's like, we are fucking ready to go now. It's all charged up.
Yeah.
It's ready to go clear. Boom.
No, it was. It was just, you just did it. And we did it every time. I mean, it wasn't like...
When you hear the tinkling of the cymbal and Krieger's guitars start heading off, it is so far from your mind that this song is almost 11 minutes long. And I never, ever listen to songs over 11 minutes long. I just don't. Like,
right.
There's no who the fuck's got time for that shit. This song, as soon as those tinkling goes, I'm like, I'm settling in.
Oh, yeah. Man, it's like you flip the feet out on the lazy boy and crack a fresh one, and you go, all right, I've got absolutely nothing to do for the next 11 minutes, and I couldn't be happier.
I hear the blue bus, too. So when it's calling us, it's calling all of us.
That's right.
And when I'm riding the snake...
Driver, won't you take me there?
And then the best... I love, like... The West is the best. He's like imploring. It's like, how many times do I have to fucking tell you people the West is the best?
Come to California.
Just get here. We'll do the rest. It's so awesome. And then the peak when he kills his father.
Right.
And then the whole mother thing. Please.
It's just, it's so good.
So good.
It's so good. Morrison said, I really don't know what I was trying to say. Mm-hmm. It just started out as a simple goodbye song, probably just to a girl, but I could see how it could be goodbye to a kind of childhood. I really don't know. It could be almost anything you want it to be.
I'm good with that explanation.
Right? It's a plug-and-play option. You charge up whatever it is that you want to tie this to and go.
So imagine being at the Whiskey when they're playing this,
right,
as their house band.
Which is where they developed it. Right?
They developed the whole first album, which is the reason why it only took, a week to record?
Right.
To, go do that in the studio and press it on vinyl. Imagine having a head full of whatever your drug of choice is, and this is the first time you hear that shit go on.
Right.
In the midst of all the other stuff that's happening around music at that time, that's got to be mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Mind-blowing. It's not I Am the Walrus. It's I'm going to kill my father and fuck my mother. That's out there.
It's way out there.
It's great. And Stone did, in his movie, he did a good job placing you in that room. As I recall that, because it's been a long time since I've watched the movie. By the way, kudos to Val Kilmer.
Oh, man.
You fucking nailed it.
And talk about, all right, so Rami Malek, is that the name of the guy that did Freddie Mercury and Queen? He lip-synced all of those lyrics.
Right.
Val Kilmer sang every one of those songs.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that he didn't get any kind of a nod for that in terms of a golden statue is a shame, because I thought he killed it too. And I haven't seen it in, 20 years. Maybe I'll watch it tonight.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if it lasts, but I remember being really entertained by it, and also as a fan of, obviously, The Doors.
Yeah. Give me some death. See, that's the stuff I just don't. I know I wouldn't be able to handle Morrison. As much as even back then, even as much as I loved him and the idea of him, I don't need to be challenged with death at every turn, Jim. Not everything is that,
Yep.
You burned the turkey, okay. Which I don't know if it's a real story, but it was in the movie. Anyhow, to be fair to Rami Malek, there's not a lot of people in the world that can do Freddie Mercury.
No.
You know what I mean? And there's I can do fucking Jim Morrison.
Right.
Right. So it's
No, and Rami Malek did a great job.
But I do remember that being part of the myth of the movie. It was he sang everything. I'm like, oh, all right, well, he fucking got it, man.
Yeah, and he looked like him.
Yeah.
He moved like him. He was great. All right, I think, so that brings us to our number ones,
so your
because
number ones, yeah.
I sniped your number two. What you got for number one?
Well, like I said, the end was, that's in a different type of stratosphere. So I went with Break On Through.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side, yeah.
We sniped each other.
What a way to arrive.
Oh, yeah.
As a band. The first song off the first album. The day destroys the night, and the night divides the day.
Oh, the poetry is fantastic.
Try to run, try to hide. Fuck. Whatever you're selling, dude.
Yeah,
I'm in.
I'm in.
And then it challenges you. It challenges you to break on through to the other side. Just go.
Yeah.
He's everybody come with me. We're breaking on through. And I think that was the magic of the Doors, where the Beatles is kind of Strawberry Fields, picture yourself. Great music, great songs, weird shit. Love it. I'm in for it. But this guy is let's go. We're breaking on through.
Oh, fantastic. His lyrical juxtaposition, to use a $20 word,
I like it,
is phenomenal. He writes a love song. I found an island in your arms, a country in your eyes. And then he busts out with arms that chain, eyes that lie. I mean,
that's right.
It's fantastic.
Right. The duality
of
love. It makes you
Is that a peace sign on your helmet, soldier?
It's crazy.
Yeah. This was an anthemic party song for me. I just... Once it, if this broke out around, 11 or 12 o'clock at night, you just started jumping.
So it was, Kirk and I went to college at the same time in the early 90s, so you had all different types of, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, those things going on at the parties, your occasional CC Music Factory happening. And when this song would come on, because inevitably it would.
Yep.
It was a shroud of, light would just come over you, and you're I was inhabited by the spirit of Jim Morrison.
Oh yeah.
all of it was being sung with his ferocity.
Of course, and if the song would come on, and if you were in, let's say, a bigger party with friends that you had been scattered about, and the song would come on, you'd immediately look around like, where's
my
commonality, or where's my people?
Where's my people? People who understand.
That's right.
The doors to break on through.
And then you proceeded to irritate everybody within a 20-foot radius.
Yeah, it was. I don't think about that often.
We arrived at the same number one, and I guess that doesn't surprise me because it is such a phenomenal song.
It really is great.
Yeah.
And it's 3 minutes, 20 seconds? In and out. I said what I had to say, and I blew your fucking mind.
In 3 minutes. Yeah. All right, so here's a challenging category for me for this band. This was a challenging category. What's your most hated?
Okay, so the most hated is later on in their career. I think Paul Rothschild was their producer throughout their whole career, and I think that he saw Jim Morrison kind of flagging, like in the later years, and he's like, all right, we got to change this up because the times have changed, gents, and he brought in horns.
Yeah, on their fourth album?
Yeah, and Touch Me is one of those, drives me nuts.
Yeah. Come on, come on, come on, now touch me, babe. Can't you see that I am not afraid? What was that promise that you made? Why won't you tell me what she said? What was that promise that you made?
Because it's got those cornet. Please. I don't want it in my Doors songs.
Yeah.
I don't. I'll take fucking Manzarek's, bass, keyboard, whatever. I'll take it if it gets me to the gym. But I do not want horns. And the touch me, and I don't like it. I don't like it. And he sounds bloated when he's singing the song. It's not like the live, slender Jim Morrison slinking around the stage in his leather pants that he never took off.
It's late years Elvis at that point.
Exactly. It's I don't like it.
I had two on here that because I couldn't really decide on it, so I guess I'll throw them both out. I had Waiting for the Sun. And there's an 80s sci-fi, almost Tron like sound of the keyboards.
It's shitty British sci-fi, like Doctor Who.
And then they repeat waiting over and over and over. Waiting. All right, come on, let's get on with it. And then there's another one that I would tend to skip whenever it came up, and it was Light My Fire, and I'm not sure why.
It would be untrue.
I'll tell you why. Do you want me to tell you why?
Yes, enlighten.
It's fucking Manzarek again.
Is it?
Those keys. That's fucking carnival music. It is.
Yeah.
And
it is. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. The way that chorus runs, you're just like, it feels childish.
The lyrics are incredible.
Yeah.
They're really incredible lyrics. Burning your love on a funeral pyre.
Right.
Please. I mean, the lyrics are incredible. He ruins it with those keys, and they're immediately, and he won't stop. They're relentless.
Yeah.
They're constant.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think that's why. I hate that song.
I think that pretty much nailed it. All right, what's your best 4 seconds?
Oh, well, I talked about the key run up in Crystal Ship, but there are so many others. Like when he breaks down and finally is going to kill his father in the end.
Yes.
Father, yes, son, I want to kill you. Mother, I want to.
And the beginning part of the end, I think, also sticks with me because it's around this time where I started to watch Apocalypse Now just about every day for maybe 7 or 8 months in a row.
Yep.
And it begins with that, and then Martin Sheen is on the bed and the helicopter's flying across the screen. It's like
smitten.
It was a drug.
Yeah.
For me, it was like. So I would say those the best 4 seconds is like the beginning 4 seconds of the end. really awesome.
All right.
It's like easing into a bath.
It is. It's very comfortable. Very comfortable. I had in the song "When the Music's Over," he overdubs his singing on "We Want the World and We Want It Now," and then it goes into a drum roll and he screams "Now," and the band kicks back in and rocks out.
I have that too.
We want the world and we want it.
We want the world and we want it.
Now.
I have that on my list too.
Do you?
I love that. All of it. I
Yeah.
love all of it.
Oh, yeah.
But the overdubbing of his, because he sounds almost kind of devilish.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And then with that horrifying scream. Ooh.
Yep. Yep. All right.
And what is he saying? Like, we want the world and we want it now.
Now? And then he comes back and he goes, "Now?"
Yeah. This is not "Don't Stop Believing."
No. No.
We're coming.
No,
We're coming to take it.
Watch out, assholes.
I think that might be also why we're trying to figure out why we hit the Doors 20 years later in our 20s. It's because of those messages.
Yeah.
Like, this is our turn now.
No,
We're
absolutely.
coming. We're using our parents' music to do it. Because we have fucking
Oh my
Journey.
God. This was the farthest thing from
Not
my
your-
parents' music
Yeah.
that you could ever possibly put in.
Engelbert Humperdinck.
Not even that. Well, all right. So speaking of Journey, Steve Perry or Jim Morrison?
Come on, not even a question.
Who's
Is this a
the
question?
who's the better vocalist?
Are you kidding? Come on. All right, vocalist?
Yeah.
No, man. No. What do you mean? Are you talking about Steve Perry singing for the Doors?
I'm just saying. Who's the better vocalist?
No way. No. No.
I have to agree with you on this one. I have to agree with you. And frankly, I don't think that Jim Morrison is that talented of a singer from the in terms of the quality and whatnot of his voice. But the way that he does what he does with the tools that he has, you're like, holy shit, this guy is something else.
It's good that he was in a band with kind of like musicians, because if he was in a band with like better musicians or people who are wanted part
he
of
would
the
have gotten
stage,
washed out.
He would have been washed out. Here's a better question for you. How much would you pay for Journey's Greatest Hits sung by Jim Morrison?
Whoa, you just lobotomized me with that question.
Right? I saw it in your eyes. Like, nothing computed.
Well, wait. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Don't stop believing, man.
I need to put the end on him. I'm about to peak. All right, Sisters of Mercy. Do you want more?
I've dropped, like, I hadn't listened to the Doors in a long time. And I don't know why. I think I just put it away as like kind of like keepsakes for your 20s.
We rode that hard for a long time.
It got to the point where people at parties were like,
Stop fucking playing it. Yeah.
we get it. and by the way, you're not him. Oh, right.
Of course.
So I put it away for that. But when I listen to that, like, there is no cringe factor for me of listening to that. When you listen to The Outfield, there's a cringe factor. Okay?
By the way, I found that I had 3 of their albums.
Holy shit. That's
3.
You had the box set?
That's got to comprise their entire catalog. I have to imagine. I don't know.
I have no fucking idea. But there's there's things you listen to like I bought the fucking Crash Test Dummies. Okay? There I said it.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Nick, and I bought the Crash Test Dummies. I will never ever listen to that album again.
Those guys are floating on a yacht somewhere because a lot of people bought that album for one song.
Campbell Soup song.
That's right.
I mean, that's so cringy. We'll get around to One Hit Wonders one of these days.
That's right.
But,
do you want more of the
yeah,
Doors?
absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. Because
I'm
I
with
forgot like how much fun
I'm
and
with
how much
you.
they meant to me. It's so great.
I'm with you, and I would be more than happy. And that feels like, I'm not a vinyl collector, but if you were a vinyl collector, the perfect opportunity to slap an album on, drop the needle, and just chill and listen to an entire album, flip it, and do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like that. This is a perfect band for that. Perfect band for that.
I agree.
How do you rank these guys?
This was tough because it didn't really come out really great in the wash. Like, I have their artistry at a 3.2, and it's all Morrison.
I had their skill and artistry. I had it at 1.8 because musically, these guys really didn't have a whole lot of tools in the toolbox.
I don't disagree with that at all. I gave Morrison a lot of credit here.
Yeah. And 1.8 may be a hair low, but I still, the music, isolate these instruments, and you're going, wow, this is basic.
Yeah, for sure. Their catalog, I've got their catalog up to a 4.2.
Okay.
They had a solid catalog. We already talked T2B, so I'm not going to hammer that. But, I mean, even their last album, L.A. Woman, that song is fucking great.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily dig L.A. all that much, but, I mean, when you put that song on, you're like, I get why people live out there,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That's really good.
I had him at a flat 4.
Okay.
And I'm with you. I think you could throw a dart. You could put all these songs on the wall and throw a dart, and you've got a pretty good chance of hitting a song that is, at a minimum, very tolerable, and you might just hit that 11-minute gem, and you'll never come back.
Yeah. It's very Floyd.
Right. Cool factor.
Their cool factor is a 3.8. And again, it's all Jim. I wish I could. I got to ding him for Raymond Manzarek. I got to ding him for that. I just can't. I can't with him.
That goofy head of hair and
Yeah.
his round Lennon glasses. I had him at a 3. Morrison, the ultimate cool, but you're carrying 3 other guys, and that, you know, when you think about a band that's cool and coolness, I don't know that every band member in that band is cool. That's a discussion for another band that
No,
we'll
look
come
at
to on that.
AC/DC.
But yeah, right.
You got 2.
Angus Young.
Yeah.
But yeah, I Morrison was 100% of that score and nothing more. So
Yeah, that's why I can't. Pound for pound, Morrison carried his band more than any other band there out there.
yeah,
I mean, you can't even say the same thing about Freddie Mercury because they had super talented musicians.
super
there.
talented.
So yeah, he's with the B Squad, and he brought them to a place where we're still talking about him 50 years from now.
Right. All right, I think that wraps this episode of The Idiots. I hope you enjoyed our discussion.
I love this episode. I wish we could do it again. I would do it again.
Please tell your friends and family about us. Oh, that sounds stupid, but tell anybody about us. We've seen crazy growth. You've given us just over 800 listens in a little over 3 weeks on 6 episodes of material, and that's crazy. We added another country the other day. Now we're in Ireland, so I think we've got about 8 or 9 countries on us, and
Nice.
this kind of growth is really what's keeping us doing this. I mean, we're having fun doing it, but it's really exciting to see it grow. So, hey, help us out. Share it. Tell people you know about it.
It's been a lot of fun working with Keurig on this stuff. As you can tell, we have a lot of good times together, but we never expected this. So we just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen to 2 idiots talk about music that is sometimes good and sometimes is horrible. And we really appreciate it. It's really, it's fantastic. So thank you for all the support.
Yeah, thanks a ton. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Make any suggestions you want in terms of what you want to hear from us. And thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Oh,